Guys, welcome back to the Select Few Podcast. Here today we have Matt Sapaula with the Seven Figure Squad, Millionaire Goals, and author of the #1 Amazon selling book, Faith Made Millionaire.
That's right, man.
I'd like to welcome you to the Select Few Podcast.
Excited, man.
Dude, it's an absolute pleasure and an honor, man.
Select Few is a very interesting name because, in the Marines, it's like the few, the proud, the Marines, right? So
Yeah.
when there's many, it's cool. But when there's a select, that's special.
Yeah, select few people truly understand, the mission, the goal, and it's a different lane. It can apply to so many different areas of life.
Yeah,
It's not
dedication.
just, dedication, people that serve in the military, people who serve as police department, people that are entrepreneurs.
For sure.
There's a select few of all of them, right?
Yeah.
And select few people will truly understand what it takes. And that's our mission, and I'm grateful, man. And really, I'd like to start off with thank you for your service.
My man, appreciate it. Saw the flags out there too. So your family's all in the military too as well.
I hold the military near and dear to my heart, and I might not have been it myself, but I bleed red, white, and blue.
Of course.
And it's a great country.
America, baby.
Exactly.
Love it. Love it. That's what injection of patriotism. That's what America needs right now. The injection of patriotism, just a feeling of gratitude for this country, and in spite of all of our imperfections and
Sure.
the fights we have, at the end of the day, man, I still love American soil, the American dream.
Yeah, I mean that's and really we're losing sight of that.
Yeah.
The reality of just everything's getting split, left to right now, and not really the fundamentals and the foundation what this country was built on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this country was built off, people coming in, right?
Mm-hmm.
We founded America.
Yeah.
And so it's all different types of people.
That's right.
And somehow the government decided, let's divide. Let's divide them all up.
Yeah.
And it's like,
right.
this is how the Tea Party started, right?
Exactly. I mean, if you look at our money, right, and on our money, our coins and our cash, if you look at it, it says e pluribus unum, right, which means from many, one. So from many different countries, from many different ethnic backgrounds, many different countries, we are still one as people. And I'll say this, and I appreciate you saying about the military. When I was over there overseas, the enemy would scope us out and send rounds down the range trying to take us out. And they're trying to take us out not because we're African American or Latino American or Filipino American or white American or Native American. They just saw the American flag.
Yeah.
They just saw one patch. They saw one flag and said, that's an American. Let me take them out. That's our enemy. And so ironic how if the enemy doesn't look at us and our differences, why are we looking at each other and our differences and calling ourselves enemies?
Well, exactly. There's a reason that says united we stand.
For sure.
They see it, but somehow we live here in America and they're not seeing it. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's gotten so far, left field that how do you bring that back?
Well, we're like podcasts like this.
Yeah.
Like you're the answer. For example, we were in Bahamas a couple of weeks ago. My mentor and our CEO of our company, PHP Agency, is a guy by the name of Patrick Bet-David. He runs a YouTube channel called Valuetainment, and his podcast, the PBD Podcast. He's fairly well recognized across the world. And we're walking out of dinner in the Bahamas, in this hotel. A lot of people were there. People stopped us, say, "Hey, Patrick, I recognize you. Hey, bring me on your podcast. I'm here with 100 of my people. I'm in construction. I'm in real estate. We're from New York, New Jersey. I got a thing to say about what's going on in America today, and then put me on your podcast, and I'll share my voice." Patrick pushed back, and I said, "Well, why don't you start your own podcast?" He's like, "Well, I don't want to lose clients. If I say what I really think, and it's a consistent thing, I might lose customers." I said, "Bro, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem."
That's fact, though. You have to be who you're going to be.
Yeah.
You do not need to mold to what people want you to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that on other podcasts because it goes to the same thing with we've had, artists on here for the music industry. And, as you've seen, like in your career, the celebrities, they have to mold to a certain criteria or you don't fit.
Yep.
Or
you get a job.
Right.
Yeah.
People go against the grain. I mean, you can, Kanye is kind of a bad example, but if you look at Kanye, he does what Kanye wants to do, right?
Even if it costs him billions.
Exactly. It can cost you $2 million with one company, but he's like, he's doing what he wants to do. Yeah. And so I have to applaud people like that. Uh-huh. Some people are afraid to talk about faith. They're afraid to pray, or it's like you know, it's like even with that most recent movie that just came out, people were
Sound
like,
of Freedom?
you know, like let's not go watch it, and if we watch it, we're not going to tell anybody we watched it. No, you know, tell everybody.
Yeah.
You know, be like, you'd like it, you don't.
It's interesting how the last 3 years, if I can look back on what America, what like all this, you know, what's just hitting the fan, it's been really the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Ever since they tried shutting us down, locking us down, putting masks on our face, telling us to take the jab, telling us to take the damn supplemental boosters, trying to tell us to be socially distant, telling us to shut down our business, telling us to, right? Telling us we can't go to church, we can't congregate together, can't spend holidays together, we got to separate. When did we start tolerating that type of stuff? We're Americans, man.
Yeah, you know, it's wild because I think it's not to take anything from COVID or anything like that or the seriousness of those things, but it was a way for the government to see how much control can we
For sure.
get.
They pushed it.
They did. They pushed and pushed and pushed.
And we
pushed.
passed the flying colors, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
We passed.
Like a bunch of sheep.
That's right.
You know, we all lined up, you know.
But 3 states, though.
Right.
You got Texas, you got Florida, you got Tennessee.
Yeah.
Fastest growing population because those states kept everybody free. And of course, you got North Dakota out there, but who's really moving out to North Dakota?
Right.
I mean, it's just like that
A
really
little
attractive state. But, you know, look at these 3 states, you know, income tax free type states, you know, where's a lot of businesses moving. And, you know, I'm from Chicago and I love growing up in Chicago. And I lost 2 of my insurance agents. They're just doing their job. They're getting they got carjacked for their cars, got shot in the head for the cars, all because of the policies that allow these things to start happening and the lack of protection that people feel. They don't feel safe in Chicago anymore. You know, I think Friday was talking about, from Chirac. See, we even got that reputation.
Yeah.
So
And who wants that?
who was that, right?
You know, but you want to be proud from where you're from.
Of course.
You know, and that's where, you know, everything's gone haywire is it's become a political agenda more than it's been about the people. You know, because it doesn't matter about your race or your gender or anything like that. It just we're all Americans. United we stand.
Yeah.
And, you know, divided we're going to fall.
We the people, not we the government.
Right.
You know, that's where, you know, we just got jaded into saying, I think somebody else is going to take care of it. Because, like, do you know something's wrong? You know something wrong? Well, someone's going to say something, right? No, they're not. We have to say something.
Right.
But so I applaud you for being a solution to the problem. And I'm praying that this podcast continues to bless other people and be downloaded in people's phones. And they're able to be programmed with the right thought process and knowledge to go out there and speak their voice and be one of the select few that has enough courage to go do something about it.
Well, I appreciate that. And, you know, and it goes down to is, are we going to pass that fundamental on to our kids?
Yeah.
You know, I raised 4 boys, and, you know, we hold strong to that. We're not going to force them to believe a certain way or think a certain way. They're just going to hear and act as they want, but we're going to give them the facts.
Yeah.
And you make your own decision. And that's, you know, versus being raised, you know, it's like racism in general. Like, you're not born racist. You know what I mean?
You learn it.
You learn it. You know, it's taught at home, right? It's taught, you know, amongst your friends, your family, in that circle, and then it sticks there.
Yeah.
You know, then all of a sudden it's like people are categorized, right?
Yeah.
And that's not how life is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, but that's what the government is doing for certain groups of people. And it's like, you belong here, you belong here, here. But you know what? We're going to go ahead and just put everybody inside during COVID too, you know?
And forget about all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if there's one thing, you know, I always get asked, you know, what did you learn most from the Marine Corps? Was it, you know, was it teamwork? Was it leadership? Was it, you know, hard work? Was it discipline? Yeah, there's all the cliche things, right? But what I really learned from the Marine Corps, I remember being in my first deployment. And I remember Lance Corporal Roy. I'm from Chicago. The brother here from Dallas, brother from, you know, he's playing football here. I think UNT is like one of the, yeah. And he decided to go into the Marine Corps instead. So we're here, you know, you got a Filipino guy, you got a brother over here, and then you got this, you know, white dude from somewhere in the deep South. He looks at both of us. He goes, this is the first time in my entire life I see somebody that's not white. Okay, all right, bro. So ready for some training? But after went through training, after went through deployment, that guy's a brother.
Yeah.
He looked at his brothers too.
Yeah, and it's amazing, but it's crazy too that he even started that conversation that way, right? You know, and that's what happens. It's and you know, I think in America we've got to take a step back and start thinking for ourselves and realize the bigger picture is, you know, people are being digitally programmed, you know, through what they're watching, what they're playing, you know, through social media platforms. Yeah. And the good news is though, like even with like, you know, the Sound of Freedom and things are now people are starting to stand up and speak out.
Yeah.
And it's like, the cancel culture is starting to be canceled, right?
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's cool to see that flip. You know, it's like even with Jason Aldean's new song.
Yeah.
It's like all
Try
that
it in small
flack,
town, right?
Yeah, exactly. You get all that flack, and then all of a sudden it's like shoots to
Yeah.
#1 song.
But you got gangster rap out there,
Yeah.
and all the Jewish producers in LA admit to it. Hey, you know, we want to produce that because that makes us the most money.
Right.
But what does that mentally program into the community? What does that program into the kids? What does it program to the adults? And you got good guys like John Morant, who's is a son of 2 parents that raised them, and he thinks he's freaking gangster with his daggone pistol waving around. It's cost him his brand, it's costing him money because that's in his head.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it reminds me of the kid who's raised in the suburbs, but he thinks from the hood. Bro, no, you're not. Just own where you're at. Your parents did a good job of raising you in a safe community. You ain't got to be fake.
I mean, that's like 21 Savage. He raps about sleeping on pallets, and dad's a surgeon. You know what I mean? So it's,
21 Savage. So, you know, so it's what a name for that.
but that's the thing. But that goes back to molding, right? They want to be something that they're not because it sells, or that's what you're told to be.
Yeah.
And you know, Friday, you know, he's given me a lot of insight, just like in the music industry, and just why so many artists are actually going independent. You know, it's not that the bad part about how much, you know, the label keeps from you, but it's what they need you to look like, what they need you to act like, sound like.
Yeah.
And then you lose all the creativity, you know? And dude, this world, man.
Yeah.
It needs some help.
For sure.
You know, but
That's it.
you know, we are going to push that message.
Let's
you
go.
know? And it's and as you've seen, like through the guests we've had, we want people's perspectives. You know, I don't need you to agree with me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to agree with you. You know what I mean? Like, we'll have common ground, but it's like we want people to see everybody's perspectives. You know, you don't have to be stuck. It's a product of your environment. You know, you really can persevere. You know, you went from the Marine Corps, right, to being a self-made millionaire, entrepreneur, author. You know what I'm saying? So you have all of these things. So you could have been like some of these guys that get out of the military and they don't go very far, right? That are, you know, they're failed by the system in certain degrees too, but they also don't push forward and not rely on that system.
And that's a great point. What separates somebody from leaving the military and pushing the way you did, or falling into the trap of becoming homeless, or, you know, in that category?
You know, I always looked at myself as being independent. You know, when I had the opportunity to get promoted, it's either I can get promoted waiting for what they call time and service. So if you just spend enough time in the military and you stick around long enough, you're going to naturally get promoted. You keep your nose clean, you're going to get promoted. But most, they said, hey, we have a meritorious board. You can earn a promotion. You can get paid sooner, faster, and get a higher rank. Sure. I'm like, okay, how do I get that? It's like I was kind of wired for that. Maybe it's for me back in high school, clipping all the newspapers in aluminum cans to make some cash on the side. Maybe it was that. Right. Maybe it's I had a lawnmower and I said, I'll mow your lawn for $5.
So it was their pre-military.
Yeah, I think it was their pre-military.
Gotcha.
And I think if guys in the military wait for, and that was the talk in the military too, hey man, you get that's from VA, you get that's from VA. Listen, to all the veterans that listening to this, I had never waited on the VA for anything. Even I got out PTSD, I got the 2 torn patella tendons, 40% torn. I got a shoulder here, all L4, L5, what do you call that, stenosis. I got all that stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, it's gonna take me a minute to get my VA benefits and to prove that this happened to a service connect and all this stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, if I could just make enough money, I'm gonna go see the doctor I wanna go see, get the treatment I wanna go see, and not have to spend all day waiting for my appointment.
Exactly.
So, you know, and I'm not the veterans also is gonna be at Applebee's trying to get a free this or trying to get a military discount. That's it. Nobody owes you anything, even if you did serve this country. You serve this country because you wanted to serve this country. It's a volunteer army. You serve this country. Even you doing that, the country still doesn't owe you anything. You chose to serve this country. Now, what are you going to do for the freedom that you fought and bled for? What are you going to do about it? You earned it. What are you going to do about it? Oh, Uncle Sam, the victim mentality, the blame mentality is also very prevalent within inside the veteran community. Whether you're enlisted or you're an officer, it's very prevalent inside the military. And I'm looking at the military now, so there's you know, with all the stuff that's going on with the, you know, this whole woke military and them thinking that yes, sir, no, sir, and yes, ma'am, no, ma'am might be offensive. What the hell's that shit, right? Listen, Uncle Sam doesn't owe you nothing. I'm glad to be in America. When you get out, take everything that the military taught you, go get yours. And so if you fought for it, now you know what the price was. Get your piece of freedom, baby. Let's go.
Well, I mean, that's the thing too. Is you are set up to get that college degree afterwards.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam will hook you up with
For sure.
that, and not everybody takes advantage of it like they should.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of touch bases. Some people are just ingrained differently, early on. Do you think that started with your parents or your upbringing?
My parents were, the go to school type.
Yeah.
They were,
You're going to be a doctor?
Yeah, Filipino, right? You're gonna be a nurse, at the minimum nurse.
Oh, yeah.
Do our family problem.
My sister lost Filipino, so I know what you're saying.
Be a radiologist or something in the healthcare field, be in the hospital, so at least, we can all have lunch together,
Yeah.
keep it in the hospital. But I was maybe that kid, so you know what? I kind of like money. I kind of like traveling. I kind of like the nice cars. I want to live in this neighborhood, and I want to eat at that restaurant. I want to go fly and travel this place. And I realized I did all the math. I'm like, it takes a little bit more money than your typical job. I better find a way to earn a lot more money. When I fly over Southern California, I was stationed there, Marine Corps Station El Toro and Camp Pendleton. To fly to our training areas, we had to fly over Long Beach, Santa Monica Beach, Dana Point, Santa Clemente Beach, Orange County, Fashion Island, Balboa, like nice spots, man. And everybody's driving Mercedes. Everybody's got a governor's drive. Everybody's got a pool in the back, gated community. Like, what are these people doing? What are these people doing? I got to figure out what they're doing and come to find out they're either CEOs or entrepreneurs or something in sales.
Yeah.
And I said, how do I pick up sales? And that's when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad in 1999. And I resonated with it because he was also a Marine.
Yeah.
He was also Asian American.
That's an OG book, right?
Oh, gee, it's still a bestseller,
yeah,
bro.
absolutely.
Still a bestseller.
It's a great book.
Crazy. But when I met Robert, I said, listen, I loved your first book because it got me to think differently. I didn't get so much about the assets and liabilities until the second book, which is the cash flow quadrant, which had me understand, okay, going forward, long term, how do I want to make my money? Employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. How do I get from this side of the quadrant to this side of the quadrant? He goes, yeah, Matt, of all the books I've read, are written, the second one is my favorite one, cash flow quadrant. Straight from the man, author himself. Love that book. But he's prophesying the economy's falling, man. Get Bitcoin and get out of paper assets, fiat currencies, all that stuff. So God bless Robert Kiyosaki, man.
I mean, you got to pick it up where you can, and then you start. I mean, obviously now you're motivating people. You've taken what you've learned, and then you've created just this, monster.
Yeah, and people often think they confuse my chapter 35 with their chapter 1, thinking, oh, it was so easy for you, man. It's so easy for you. You start your business, right? Start your podcast, bro. You don't understand. You heard the glory, but you didn't hear the story. That's why we're able to share some of this. I was a single dad. I got divorced. I filed bankruptcy. Single dad of 3 kids, going through 2 different family child support cases, and I had custody of the kids. Go figure.
Yeah.
Fighting the system, and judges automatically think I'm a deadbeat dad.
Yeah, the system is awful for the father.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Especially dads that want to be dads. Mm-hmm. And
most humiliating thing is the judge telling me, well, you have visitation. What do you mean I have visitation? These are my kids. You don't tell me I want to go see my kids. It's
right.
my kids. You didn't birth them. I did.
Yeah. It's like me and my partner don't disagree, but I can't see my kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right. And they empower,
Yeah.
the mom more than the dad. And so thank God I hired the right attorney that had the right mouthpiece and the right relationship. Not that she was a better attorney,
right.
but she had the right relationships in the court system to kind of.
I mean, it's sad that you have to say that, right?
Yeah.
It should just be.
That's when I learned it was a dirty game.
It's very dirty.
Yeah.
And it's, that's how the world is.
Yeah.
That was already dirty.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else is just caught up to it. You know what I mean?
But what solved it wasn't waiting for the VA to pay for me for anything. I went and made more money to create a stockpile of cash. I can go say, who's the best attorney in the city?
Yeah.
And get that mouthpiece. Represent me.
It's funny because when you say, you saw these neighborhoods, the nice cars, the pool, like for some reason, especially I bet in Chicago, like you see a pool, you're like, damn, they got money.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like here, it's like
if you have a car, you got money.
Yeah, I mean, that too, right?
Yeah.
And but I can't tell you how many times, and until this moment, I didn't even think about it. But how many times somebody says, "Where's all this money come from? Where's all this money come from?" We're rolling through Highland Park or Preston Hollow or somewhere nice. I'm like, hard work. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be an asshole about it, but I'm like, they did something.
Yeah.
And some of those people really shouldn't be there because they're really living well above to look. because
Yeah.
they're molded to feel like they have to belong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus like go outside the suburbs and get something affordable and let your money work for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but it's motivating if you allow it to be motivating. Or you can sit there and be like, yeah, I don't know how people have this. It must be drugs.
I mean, right here in the studio, we got Laquan is joining me. He's auditing this because I want him to get primed to start doing podcasts to himself because he's going to be a thought leader. Laquan relocates here from Jacksonville, Florida. He relocates from Jacksonville, Florida. How many months ago from Jacksonville, Florida? 6 months ago. Relocates to Jacksonville, Florida. Plugs into our office, absorbs our environment, culture, the local mentors and leaders we have, and he just crossed over 6 figures. And he's about to cross over 250,
Congrats.
right? So he's had a lot of momentum. And it's just the power of proximity, the power of association, the power of being in the right environment. He uprooted his family, his children, his household from Jacksonville, Florida, where he was comfortable, and went to Dallas, where he was uncomfortable, and here's the result.
Yeah.
Man, that's a
That's what people need to do.
round of applause right there.
Come on, baby. That's Laquan, my security
buddy.
detail.
That's what I found out when you guys showed up an hour early. You know, shout out to people that are late. You know, because we get some of those guests that are late. And it's an hour early, and I'm like, it's the one day I didn't get my haircut done before the podcast. And I'm like, y'all show up, and the office staff is like, there's somebody here. And I'm like, who? You know, and he was getting walked around by our warehouse property manager. I'm like, oh, shit. First impressions are always the best. And I'm like, okay. And then when I was like, I sent them a picture of you. I was like, is it him? They're like, nah. I was like, oh shit, it's security's here. You know? I'm like, get the man. I was like, get the man a bottle of water. You know what I mean? Like, let's make sure he's good. You know, let's show him.
He gave me a call. I was like, oh, that's that Marine time right there. Yeah, Marine early right
I was
there.
like, oh shit, there's snipers in my trees. You know, I'm like, they didn't show up on all my game cameras, so I didn't know. You know, it's caught me off guard, but
That's it.
shout out.
I like Laquan.
Dude, man. I feel like he needs to come get on the mic. Like that's huge because you know when you cross into just the 6-figure bracket, right? It could be $100,000. That used to really mean a lot.
Yeah.
Right. It's still a huge thing, but the way the economy's gone,
Yeah.
the $100,000 doesn't like do anything like it used to.
Yeah.
You know, I used to be like, you know, what's the goal? $100,000.
Yeah.
You know, then you hit it and you're like,
And
I need 2 now.
Exactly.
You know, I'm like just to go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's like,
well, the thing with him is like, how many hours, Laquan, did you spend in the car? He was in finance. How many hours a day did you spend at the car dealership?
It was about 80 hours a week.
Yeah, 8 hours a week. So he's living
8
at the
hours a
dealership.
week.
Got kids, got a family, he's got responsibilities. And you know, if you're not in a dealership, you're not making any money. So they're locked into the car dealership. So this type of $100,000 is not 80 hours a week at the dealership. It's same money, but I'm living my life now.
yeah, exactly. It's like there's more time for family, right? The things that are important. The reason you were sitting at that car dealership is because of that family. You know, and it's like, you know, I pretend like it was, you know, for me, right, in a way, but it was never about me. It was always about my kids and my wife. It's like, I don't want you to worry about, you know, how are we going to pay that bill? And, man, I really want to congratulate you on the success you have, and I can tell this is only the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I didn't even know if I was worthy of this podcast, to be honest with you, because I was like, you know what, I'm self-made, you know, but it's like, I'm honored to have somebody, you know, like you who's ahead of me, right? I might have a couple years on you. You know, but but that's my thing. Like my goal is to align myself with people in general, right? Like-minded individuals. But you know, I feel like there's a lot I can learn from you, and I really respect the fact that you know you brought him today to see what we're doing, what you're doing, and helping him find his goals. Because you know what, I've bought a lot of cars, and like you know, you gotta go deal with the finance guy even if you're paying cash, and it's like. The finance guys, shout out to my guys at Grapevine Ford, because they're the craziest people. Like, they will buy me scotch. Like, literally, it's like, hey, I got this 4-year-old bottle of scotch. Like, dude, I don't like scotch, but okay, thank you, I appreciate that. You know, but they're like the coolest people. Yeah. And, but that's a difficult job. You know what I mean? Especially, like, during the week. You know, nobody's coming in there. And, you know, what brand of cars was it?
So it went from Hyundai to Maserati.
Okay. Which one did you like better?
Hyundai.
You like Hyundai?
Hyundai was better.
That's because there's more cars to sell.
Yes.
Yeah. It's,
What do Hyundais go for now?
Shit.
A Hyundai to Genesis. So
That's why I got the. That's the flagship.
What's the sticker?
for the G90s around the new ones around 100 grand.
Damn, bro.
Have you sat in a G90? I mean, I'm not taking.
Were you impressed?
Dude, the G90, it's basically the S-Class Mercedes.
Wow.
Dude, it's legroom. I mean, you might as well have Farnsworth Bentley in there with you. It's wild. It's like Hyundai stepped up their game.
Yeah.
And that G90s, I think it was the G80s, they used to be like 70. And then when they went to the G90, it went up. I've never been able to bring myself to buy a Hyundai, right?
Hyundai Sonata.
So I take that back. We've owned Hyundais before.
Yeah.
But like when it came to wanting a luxurious, more legroom type thing, I was like, I don't know if I can get the Hyundai. You know what I mean? Like, but it's cool. It's super dope. Like, dude, they really hit it on the money. And,
Okay.
And the cool thing is they don't even have the Hyundai logo on it.
It's just
It looks like Bentley.
it's just Genesis.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like a Bentley logo.
You know, some of that is Hansberry's. Hey, Matt, you like this car? I'm like, dude, that looks solid. What is that? How you get that? Oh, it's a Hyundai. Well, no way. It's a Genesis.
For real. Like, it's like you see it coming down the road. It's like, oh, shit, that's a Bentley.
Them South Koreans, man.
Yeah.
That's
Up
what
in the game, man.
It's
good.
It's super dope, man. I like it. And, it's,
Good.
I got to school you in cars, man. You know?
You know what?
You just have a guy that goes get your cars, don't you?
Yeah, you know,
You want me to be your concierge? I'll be your car concierge, right?
what was I asking? What was I asking you in the garage about?
But we got to type, the 64, Chevy Impala,
Impala,
man.
that's
The
right.
SS got to be, candy apple red with,
I went
convertible.
candy apple green.
Oh, candy
Green's
apple
my
green.
color.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude,
We
yo,
can do that.
Yeah.
We can even get a little gold flake in it.
Okay,
You got to be
yeah.
a little different. You know what I mean?
That paint job, bro.
Dude.
Wow.
It's
Drop top. Yo. Mighty Emerson, what?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
And-
our team theme
I was
song.
gonna say you gotta drop
Yeah.
that in there. A
Yeah.
couple, 8s or 10s in the trunk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude,
Oh, bro.
it's game over.
Yeah.
You're definitely gonna drive that to the podcast.
It's a craziest thing when you start making a little bit of money and the things that you were talking about, you hit 100,000, 200,000. Well, my thing was cars. To me, it was like a milestone status type thing. And AMG, it was like, what does AMG stand? I don't know what AMG stands for. All I know is that when I pick up that car, I call my boys, and I'll hear them, yo, Sapaula, what's up? And I say, oh my God! They know what happened. I bought my dream car. I bought my dream car. Oh, you picked it up? Pick me up. Oh my God! Now I got a couple of them. It's like, it's cool, the one I got out there. But blast, bro, it's like, and then you learn how to buy the cars. You learn how to buy it through a corporation. You learn how to tax deduct it. You learn all depreciation, all these different things. And then you find out, once you start learning the money game, how the wealthy buy the cars, and I put it in the business use, how that net payment is cheaper than what you were normally paying
Yeah.
a Genesis brand new.
That's
just
the thing.
having a job.
If you own a business, you shouldn't own your own personal car.
yeah. Yeah.
There's legal, taxable ways to buy things.
Personal credit, business credit, but the business credit is predicated upon your personal credit.
Yeah.
So you got to.
Yeah, if you got those 800 plus credit scores, nobody's asking you anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when I bought this property. It took me 3 documents with the bank, and I'm like, I had to jump through leaps and bounds to have a personal mortgage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're just literally handing me this money. I'm like, okay, cool.
That's the coolest thing about having credit. It's like that's the flex. It ain't having bags.
Yeah, it's like when I if I finance a car, and it's like, I'll go say, hey, this is the car I want.
Yeah.
I won't even go down there. I won't even test drive it. I'll call. I have a select few people that work at dealerships, and it's like, this is the car I want. You got it, right? If you don't got it, can you find it? If not, I'm gonna go over here.
Right.
And literally, it's like, all right, when do you want to come pick it up? And
That's
it's
right.
like,
Yeah, drive the white one and the black one to my house, and I'll figure out which one I want from there. I'll cut you the check.
I remember I was sitting at my parents' house in San Antonio, and they've got this it's Ford SUV, and it's got like 12,000 miles on it. It's 5 years old. And she's like, I think I want a new car. I'm like, what do you want? I want the same car. I'm like, really? The same one? Because they changed the body style, and you put 12,000 miles on this? And I'm like, okay. So I texted my guy. And it's funny because my guy is the same guy that Shaq buys from at Grapevine Ford. And so I texted him, I was like, hey, you got this? He's like, yeah, I've got this fully loaded one. I was like, dude, they don't need the fully loaded one.
Yeah.
I was like, but this one's paid for. What can you do? And he's like, I can do this, this, and this. He's like, but I'll deliver it. I was
Yeah.
like, well, I expected nothing less. You know, I'm like, so he's like, I'm gonna drive 5 hours to drive you out with this car. You know, and but it truly is the flex. You know what I mean? It's like recently I just bought my so I vowed to never buy my kids cars. Okay. It was they grew up. It's always been spend half, save half their entire life.
Great
Since
habit.
they can actually understand anything.
Yeah.
Spend half, save half. And they did good. I mean, by the time they were, 14, 15 years old, they all had a couple thousand saved up.
Nice.
And I'm like, that's pretty darn good because we didn't give allowances. So this is like birthday money.
Yeah.
Every now and then they did a side hustle.
Why didn't you give allowances? I got my answer. Why didn't you give allowances?
So I didn't do allowances because I don't think you should have to pay your kids to help. You know what I'm saying? Like, I brought you in this world, buddy. I need help. You know what I'm saying? You helped make this mess. Actually, I don't even think I helped you make the mess, but we're going to do this together.
Yeah.
And that's why I always joke with my wife. So, I got 4 because there's that much more stuff to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, if we get any more, stuff, we need another kid.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, I think that they need to learn the fundamentals of hard work. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to circle back on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife, she's like, we were gonna give my son a Hyundai Tucson, and because she already had it, it was her commuter car when she was a nurse, and it was cool because it was a little tiny SUV crossover, had a little turbo in it, and it was a cool car, and but it had like turbo lag, and I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's like she's like, I don't think it's safe to pull into traffic with that. I was like, okay, so we're really gonna do this. We're gonna buy our oldest son a car. I was like, okay. He had no care in the world like what kind of car, right? Which is okay because I was really mad. Like I didn't want to buy a new car. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to get mad because I'm like, if he saved $2,000, I'm gonna match that, and he's gonna have $4,000 for a car. Get a shit box. My first car was $600.
Yeah,
and it was my favorite car ever. You know what I mean? But it's like the world, right?
Yeah.
So, but because I can, I was like, you know what? Let's go buy a brand new car. So we went down and bought a brand new Honda Accord, and I want to say it was like $30,000 out the door cash. But we told our son when we gave it to him, we said, you're going to pay half of this. So when he turned 18, now he pays me $200 a month until that car's paid off for his half.
Nice.
But like when that happened too, it's like his insurance bill. So he moved out the day after graduation with his girlfriend, right? Uh-huh. He pays me $500 a month now between cell phone, insurance, and car payment.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, I don't know if I can afford this because he's trying to pay because I don't pay for college either.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he's paying for college. And so I did give him a job here. He's not making a ton of money. He's making more than he was making at Kroger.
Sure.
But it's like, I gave him the option to where he's selling commercials so he can make commissions. That way he has a nice base.
Yeah.
But if he wants to be a 6-figure guy, you
Knock
better sell
yourself
that
out.
shit.
Yeah.
Right? But he's going to UTD with a scholarship. So he's got a little bit better. But it's like, he needs to pay.
Yeah.
I'm not paying because so many parents right now are paying for their kids to live.
Yeah.
And there's no limit.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
I know people right now, their kids are 35 years old and mom and dad are still paying for their house bill.
And they have kids.
And they have kids.
Remember, they're still taking care of their grandkids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't do allowances. I couldn't. And but what I was getting at is so the flex, right, is to be able to do things.
Yeah.
Right. So my second kid, of course, wanted a Mustang, so he got a Mustang. Right, I made him get the V6.
Nice.
He was not getting the 5-liter GT,
5.0.
even though he still did 130 miles an hour. And so I had to literally. There's a thing called My Ford Key, and you can set a max speed limit.
Wow.
So I had to put the 16-year-old the max speed
So
limit.
it's like an internal governor in there.
So it's like you have 2 different keys, and one key is set up to where you limit that damn car,
Wow.
so he can't go over 75. So that's his fault. You know what I mean? So he's, and then it's funny when he hits a certain, I think it's 60 miles an hour or something, it's like starts dinging to remind him of the speed. It's great.
It's good.
He hates it. And so,
you got to earn your speed.
Exactly. So, but then my third is his time for a car, right? So that's where I was going with this is that the flex of he has the car he wanted is a Nissan 370Z Nismo, right? And it's they stopped making this car in 2020, and it had to be white, and it sounds spoiled, right? But it's we don't want to have a black car, we want to kind of have the white one. And it's he wanted a manual, this and that, and he doesn't know he's got it, right? I literally just ordered it, got it from the dealer. It's gonna get on a shipment on Friday.
He doesn't listen to podcasts.
Nah, he don't listen to this.
Okay,
Nah,
okay, good.
So otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. But it's funny because that right there was like a humbling moment for me because I found this damn car after months of searching,
Yeah.
and it's only got 3,200 miles on it. And so what we're gonna do is there's a big car show at Nebraska Furniture.
Okay,
And,
in a
it's-
colony?
Yeah, so it's like the first Saturday of every month. So it's a real big one, right? You'll see
Yeah.
the nicest shit and then some of the stuff that shouldn't be there, but it's there.
Nice. Okay.
So I'm gonna have somebody put it in the car show, and that's how he's gonna get it.
Cool.
So we're gonna take one of our old trucks, go
surprise
to the
him.
car show, and then it's be like,
You like that?
yeah,
It's yours.
so exactly.
Cool. That's
So but it's like you're gonna pay me for that damn car. You know what I mean? But that's the fundamentals we need to instill in our kids.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I did find you your dream car.
Yep.
You're going to pay me half of what I paid.
Yep.
And
It's part of the hardest thing for a parent to do is to watch your kid struggle and have a hard time, but it's exactly what they need to be able to be effective citizens in this world. So the reason why I didn't pay my kids allowances because I didn't want them used to entitlements. Like you just get paid for doing nothing.
right.
So there is no allowances, and I don't care what other parents do. It's up to them. But the way I'm raising you here, and I got a lot of flack from it. And my kids went to nice to do high school in Chicago. All the kids would get brand new cars. My kids would still be walking to school.
Yeah.
I told them your grades are your currency. If you got good grades, you can always ask me for anything. You read books, you give me a verbal presentation, you give me a report of the books I ask you to read. You're gonna have some extra credit for me. If you do this, there's no payment. But if you go above and beyond, a little bit of commission, right?
Yeah.
If you go above and beyond, I'm gonna help you out. But if you just do the bare minimum, there's nothing. Don't expect anything.
Oh, exactly.
So what do? They did the bare minimum. Okay, well, that's why. But it was on them though.
Right.
It was on them to do. So therefore, my daughter one time, especially for a daughter, Poppy, I'm having a hard time paying my rent because my friends that I decided to room with, they're not paying their rent. I said, I told you before you decided to have some roommates, are you willing to pay their rent if they don't pay your rent to be watching for? I know, but I just trust it. Well, guess what you got to do then? You decided to say yes, as hard as it was for me.
Right.
Then they say, last minute, yep, we found some extra money. Interesting. If I didn't get her to stretch that a little bit extra.
Oh yeah. It's that it's but I mean think about when you couldn't pay something. I mean in the military you weren't making a lot of money.
No, for sure.
You know what I mean? And then you get child support and all this other stuff, right? So it's like
I had to donate blood.
I mean
Make them extra $20. Plasma, 40, 60.
yeah, but I mean that's the only reason I know what a testicle costs because I'm like, you know what, just in case, I'll set out to sell one of those. But that's what you have to do to survive. Because last thing I wanted to ever do, and I heard it way too many times, like how the hell are we gonna pay that? I hated that, and that was my motivation. I did not. So that's literally what this is about now. Like I'm content. Do I want to get to a different status, like your status, or even better? Like, sure, but I want to do it the right way.
Sure.
I don't want to lose sight of everything that I'm starting to work on now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but yeah, the kids is, they go to schools in Prosper, right?
Nice.
And
I just love that name.
and they go, it's like they've got a lot of friends, and their parents either have my money or a lot more money.
Yeah.
A lot of them have a lot more money. And I mean, there's a kid with an R8 there. I'm like, I don't care how much money I have, my kid is not driving an R8.
No, it's not super car
You know
for
what I mean?
man.
Like, I'm like, I had a shitbox Honda, and my kid drives an Accord, so I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like, but even when they, my 17-year-old, he likes the nicest shit. Okay, and I'm not one who has to have like fancy clothes.
Yeah.
Watches, it's a different story. Okay,
Get your thing.
and watches that's my kryptonite, right? My watch is like cars for you, so it's like I mean, I have a
Give me your top 3 watch brands.
oh, dude,
Your boss.
I'm gonna
watch
say,
brands. Let's go.
I'm gonna stick with Rolex at the top strictly because it's classy, right? It's classy. You can wear it with anything.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not afraid to go on a construction site wearing Rolex. I don't care, right? I usually just put on the iPhone watch just because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to look a certain way.
Sure.
And so after that, I'm gonna go with a Hublot. I think Hublots are very nicely built. After that, it's the coolest watch, in my opinion, is the watch Richard Mille Mill.
Yeah.
They made called the Dizzy Hand. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but what happens is when the time is going and it's ticking, the dials also go in the opposite direction with the numbers on it.
Wow.
And it's the craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
And that's got to be like
That's it.
That's mine. You know, but I mean, I've got several tag watches, right? You know, those are $5 to $10,000.
Yeah.
But it's like when I hit a certain milestone,
You said that way too lightly. But yeah, 5, 10.
I'm wearing a tag. I'm wearing a tag right now. It's a Monaco.
yeah. I mean, but but like they're affordable.
They're 5 to 10 grand.
Your daily banger.
I'm gonna say that I say they're affordable, but my wife, she tripped out when I bought the last one. It was like $6,500. She's like, "You spent how much?"
Right.
I'm like, "Well, how much do we spend on our closet?" You know what I mean? Like, and I'm just talking about like the shelving unit. I'm like, I put a Hyundai in my closet, just in custom closet shelves, and I'm like, "Ugh." You know, nobody wants to spend money like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I live in a very modest house.
Yeah.
And it's dude, we bought this house for like, I don't know, 10 years ago for like 200,000. It's worth like 850. You know, we put, you know, it's Highland Park on the inside because it looks nice. We liked it nice, but it's like, humbly, I don't want to go live in a massive, massive house and pay $300,000 a year in taxes, you know, property taxes for me, you know, because I know that 300 I can use on something else, you know, because I'm still young enough into my entrepreneurship that I still need to make my money work for me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So
Always got to do that.
and that's where, you know, that's where we are, you know, on the Select Few is we want to try to grab the targeted audience when they're down, you know, they feel like they're stuck here. We want to help them grow, you know, to the point where it's like they're, you know, like your guy over here, where it's like they have that next hustle to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And that takes me on to insurance, life insurance. So after the military, that's where it was.
Yes, that was my transition.
So like,
point,
how do you go to life insurance?
It's like never a thought in my brain, bro. It's like, of all places, right there in Lake Forest, California. Here I am, looking at the Best Buy, you know, store for the best scanner, because my son was just born, and I went to Walgreens to develop the film.
I remember those days.
Express.
We put them in a sandwich bag so that way they didn't get exposed to like heat or you know, moisture or something. You know.
So in the time I was processing my film at Walgreens, I'd run down to the Best Buy, buy a scanner. So by the time we got done processing, I could go home and scan a photo instead of mailing it 3, 4, 5 days. So my mother back in Chicago can see what her grandson looks like.
Yeah.
So in that process, then I bumped into a recruiter at the Best Buy, and he literally prospected me, hit me up, started a conversation with me in the bathroom of a Best Buy.
Okay.
Like bold.
This is an insurance guy.
Yeah, as an insurance guy.
That makes total sense. You know, because insurance guys are kind of like used car salesmen. You know what I mean? Some of them, right?
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
of
yeah.
them are like, they really want to be in front of you.
Oh,
You
sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, like hardcore salesman. Like, I've always been that guy that doesn't sell you. I become friends.
This guy wasn't trying to sell me. He goes, hey, so what are you doing after the Marine Corps? So I'm gonna do my 20. He didn't realize that in the back of my head, this is how men BS each other. In the back of my head, I just went through a career meeting with our career planner in the Marine Corps. He says, Sapaula, you're part of a special operations unit. We can send you out this week. But the problem we have with you is you got kids. We can't worry about you having the need for babysitter. You know, you're attached to this unit. You got to go. You can't. So either you laterally move to a different job in the Marine Corps, push paper, or you got to get out. But one of those are your options because you got 1 year left. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to get out. I don't know what to do yet. Maybe I go get my airframes and power planes license. I was a helicopter guy.
Okay.
Maybe I become a cop LAPD because we were training reservists at LAPD. And so I didn't know. And then when this guy says, hey, Len, what are you going to do with your career? I said, I'm going to do my 20. Even though last week the guy's telling me to get out or let I move. I'm BSing him.
Yeah.
Right? And he says, well, you like money? I'm like, yeah. You like a lot of money? Absolutely. So what do you know about the money? What do you know about the money game? You know the rules? I'm in the Marine Corps. No. I'm not talking about a job. How does money work for you? Tell me how money works for you. Good question. I don't know. Says, if I could show you the rules of the money game, get a foot in the door for you to come to our firm in Anaheim, would you take it seriously? I said, I absolutely would. And I said, you got a card? All I saw was stock market. All I saw was wealth.
This is like a Wolf of the Wall Street moment.
Yeah, exactly. But he didn't
Like,
look.
if you
He
show
didn't
me
look
your
money.
paycheck, I'll do it right now.
But he didn't look money though. I mean, he's a retired master sergeant.
Yeah.
That was willing to get, how do most people get a job? Hey, bro, you got a job? Hook me up. Give me an app. Give me a
Right.
job. That's the way I kind of looked
exactly.
at it. And so I went to the office, and all I saw, bro, I mean, this is pre-Christ. I just saw room full of women, bro. I'm like, here I am in the Marine Corps, just went through a divorce. Like, oh my gosh, targets have appeared. Forgive me, okay? So that's why my son, he was in his 20s, like, dude, I know exactly how you're thinking. Don't think I'm too far away from that thought. Anyway, make a long story short, when I finally got my shit together and I made my first check, got licensed. Took me 6 months to get licensed because it was a long licensing process. I had to take a Series 6, 63 life and health license. These days, you don't have to be that sophisticated, but I remember getting my first check, and it was $425, which was half of my military paycheck. I'd make $850 every 2 weeks, and I got paid half of that in an hour. And I was like, man, it seemed like a lot of money to everybody listening to this, but that was half of what I'd made in the military, put my life on the line.
Right.
Special operations unit. I'm like, if I can find 10 of these, I can make, 6 figures. What? That's within inside my realm.
Yeah.
But I'm in control. Remember I was telling you earlier about me getting meritoriously promoted. So that muscle kicked in. That thought process kicked in. I'm like, okay, I have a transition career. Sapaula, you can go to college, GI Bill, blah, blah. No, bro. I should find out how to make $400 in an hour legally.
Right.
No, keep your college. I don't. And that's a hope. Here, I know uncertainty. But I can bet on me, though.
Yeah, because you're putting, 4-year degree and, you're working, part-time jobs trying to stay with, but, you know, in some cases, that's where a lot of people, I think we're kind of moving away from that too. Like, you have to go do 4 years. You got to do 8 years. You got to be this because
biggest scam. It's the biggest scam in the world.
it is, and it's they've made it so like unaffordable. You know what I mean? Like, let's get $150,000 in debt for $45,000.
It's unaffordable because the reward for getting a degree doesn't pay you enough for the cost of actually going to school.
Right.
So if you're spending $100,000 to get a $50,000 a year job,
It doesn't comprehend.
zero.
Yeah, the return on investment is crap.
Yeah, I get if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a high paid profession.
Yeah.
But if you want to get a gender studies degree,
Right.
you want to get a sociology degree.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's
what's liberal arts, all that stuff.
But nobody sits down and explains that.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you can't afford to, work full time, so you're going to spend this much a year, this much a semester, to go to school, and your job's going to top you out at 50 after 20 years of business.
And we're just talking about the logical aspect of college. What about the impact of the environment our kids today are in, public and even some private schools? What do they learn about? We talked about earlier. What do they learn about America? What do they learn about capitalism? What do they learn about communism? What do they learn about government? What do they learn about depending on somebody else versus creating your own enterprise?
Well, and they're actually erasing history.
Yeah.
And I'll ask my kids questions here and there, and I was not a school kid, so my wife, she'll step in because she's very educated, and she'll be like, "Did you learn this, this, and this?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "Shit, I remember that," and I skipped a lot of school, and it's like. But then the other thing too is these teachers are starting to put their viewpoints into their curriculum, and so it's
their politics.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it's like when Bernie Sanders was running for president, and my kids are like, "Yeah, free college is gonna be great." And
Exactly.
I'm like,
sounds great though.
I was like, "That's awesome." It's like, so who's paying for that?
Exactly.
It's like it's free. I'm like, nothing is free at all. Nothing. I was like, you're gonna pay for that when other people are getting it for free. Yeah. I was like, you might actually go for free, but I said it's like free healthcare. It's not free. You go to another country, right? Their healthcare system has been set up for generations, so it works for them, but they're also used to paying 42 to 45% of their income in a tax, and then they still have to wait 7 hours for a doctor's appointment.
It's like the DMV.
Yeah, exactly. Now you got to make an appointment after COVID. I don't know how that happened.
It's like the VA.
Yeah. Right? And then you
25.
Right, and shit service. So it's like, the whole system, it's like, it's just so, I don't even have the right word.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why we homeschool. We decided to homeschool
That's smart.
3 years ago.
Yeah, it's smart. It's, and you figure 8 to 9 hours a day, your child will be around people that will help shape who they are.
Exactly. You literally like learn your worst habits if you remember in school.
For sure.
Insecurities, extra activities. You know what I mean?
I mean, you can take these kids. I mean, there's a lot of homeschool communities where for a couple hours a day, 3 hours a day, we'll have, a group, like maybe field trip or get together, but you go back home and get homeschooled.
Exactly.
So at least they can get socialized. And at 3 o'clock, they go to the local school, compete in sports.
Exactly. And I've spoken to some, educators, and they told me like the 8-hour day is all fluff, to pay the teachers.
Sure.
Like, who can really go to school for 8 hours and learn 5 subjects a day and really remember all that in a day?
We do financial workshops twice a week. I ask this question all the time. Who here trusts the public school system? Not one hand goes up. Everybody's shaking their heads.
Right.
And then I ask why. That's it. Indoctrination, my kid's being exposed to DEI, CEI. We're just in the Bahamas, and this kid was recording us. We're doing his workout with, just throwing a medicine ball. And we asked him, he's 17 years old, goes to Glendale. He's Armenian, right? He's in Glendale in California. I said, well, so what's it like being in high school today? He says, bro, you don't understand this, man. We have a book in our high school right now that everybody's laughing about, that it's okay to love your best friend. And here's 3 steps to give him a blowjob.
Oh, Jesus.
In public school.
Yeah.
His niece, right, 6 years old, she comes back to the house. She goes, Mommy, Daddy, is it okay if I'm gay? 6 years old. Isn't thinking about sex. And then she's thinking about her gender.
Yeah.
Whose
It's
business
really
is it
confusing
for
the kids.
yeah, exactly. I'm having a hard enough time with A, B, C, D, E, let alone X, Y, and XX.
Yeah.
Figuring out that type of
It
stuff.
even gets worse than that, because and it's like, so we have, these kids go to prosper schools, and I mean that, to people that don't know what prosper schools is, it's a really good school district with, kids of different income bases, but there's a lot of
faith-based folks
yes.
in North Dallas.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, so and I can't remember the name right now, but there's these kids that want to dress up with like cat ears and cat tails and stuff like that. And I shit you not, the teacher has to
Affirm them.
Yes. And I forgot what they call it, but I'm like, did I just hear that correctly? Like, so if you identify as a cat, right, in this school or any school of that, I'm like, you're human.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right.
I'm like, so why do you have to acknowledge that? But that's how it is too. It's like, even in that
Identify as a
school,
billionaire, man. It doesn't mean I am.
It's like, I mean, but exactly.
Still got my Genesis. People are, when is my life going to change? When's this boss going to pay me more money? They won't pay you more money. And here's the thing. I think the Fed Reserve met this afternoon at the recording of this podcast, and they're raising the rates again another 25 basis points.
Oh, great.
So, right. So we had a pause last time the Fed met. They raised it again today.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to fight this thing, this inflation thing from going. But here's a challenge, though. Even if inflation goes down, business has been conditioned to charge their customers this.
Yeah.
Right? And their profits has been thin.
Yeah.
If internal costs go down by a little bit, are these businesses really going to lower their prices? McDonald's going to lower their prices. The restaurant's going to really lower their prices. I think they're going to keep here, because now what's the next move? Everybody wants to get paid more money.
Yeah.
So where does that come from?
Well, that's what happened after COVID. It's like, if you couldn't find people to work, first off, because somehow COVID killed off, 100 million people. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's no employees, right? So it's like, when you start getting them, you're picking like the people you wouldn't typically hire. And then you're having to deal with that much more bullshit from that person, right? In our industry, and I say that more like construction industry, right? Not like, we're not all commission based.
Well, look at a restaurant, servers and bartenders.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go eat.
Yeah.
But they're like, man, let me just stay home. Let me just click this unemployment check, stimulus check.
Yeah.
I don't have to pay mortgage,
Yeah, they had
moratorium for a
3
minute.
solid years of government assistance. Like, you can make more at home. I mean, I kid you not. I had a sales guy, a commercial estimator, and an office secretary quit during COVID, and we were deemed essential.
Yeah.
So we never shut down.
Yeah,
And we were actually busier than we've ever been in our entire life through COVID.
Sure.
And it's like, they quit to go ride the system, and then I get these letters in the mail. It's like, yeah, they applying for funding. I'm like, we were deemed essential.
Yeah.
So fortunately, they got denied. But I'm like, that was the ideal, right? That's the ideology of like, I want free money. I want free college. I want free.
Yep.
And that's what we got to get away from.
Yep.
And it's, so I think we're, it's kind of weird, because I look at different things. Like, I look at you, me, everybody that's in the entrepreneur field, or just wanting to, make $200,000 a year, because it used to be make 100, now it's make 200. They have the drive, but is that going to continue on through the lineage? Like, where are we going with this?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the hustle is dying.
It is. And the reality, though, is if you really want that life, if you really want options and choice, you got to go back to hustle. I mean, as much as the government's going to try to give you, as much as they're trying to give you, it's still not going to be enough money for you to fly to Dubai and enjoy
Right.
Dubai, because Dubai is going to hand your ass. You know how much
Yeah.
you got to spend out there. And these folks that, seeing stuff on the internet and traveling on Instagram, and, it costs money to travel.
Right.
And so it's not cheap to travel. I mean, we're taking our guys to Las Vegas here in the next couple of weeks, and we asked them, and this is a business conference, we're asking them in the budget, $1,500 to $2,000 for airfare, hotel, and food for 3 days while you're out there. And that's for a business conference.
Yeah.
They're not taking out the family. They're not taking the kids. If you're talking about a family and kids, easy $5,000, $6,000. There was a TikTok video of a grandpa. They were at Disneyland. He paid for the kids, paid for everything. He gets the bill. They're having lunch, dinner, whatever. He gets the bill. He's like, he takes off his clothes. What? What is this? He looks at the bill. $6,000 for dinner.
Yeah.
The guy's crying. I'm like, what? How am I paying $6,000 for damn dinner? What happened? And hey, Disney, you guys are starting to lose your brand, all the stuff that you are putting out there, and now you're sticking the customers, people, the family that loves to go see Disney. A lot of people aren't loving to go see Disney. And you see what's going on with their company. They're laying off 7,000 employees. They're divesting themselves of certain assets, firing 20 of the top ESPN show hosts. They're selling portions of ESPN. So they're backing off making movies for a minute, because the last 8 movies they have is all at a loss because they're trying to fit this woke agenda. I mean, who feels comfortable right now taking the kids to watch a Disney movie?
Right. No, I mean, that's true. I mean, I feel like people should have looked at Bud Light and paid attention. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you start losing $22 billion valuation, in a month, like
Target happened to Target.
Yeah, then Target.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, Target was up to 11 or 12 billion. And I mean, I think they had a better standpoint, but
And Sound of Freedom, $125 million right now.
dude, that's killer, right?
People
It's
have spoken.
Did you see all those things where the AC wasn't working in that particular theater and all
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah, fire alarms being pulled.
I mean, it's even when Easter, some of those the biblical movies dropped. It's those didn't even do that. But Angel Studios, man, for them to step up and drop that movie,
Yeah, on 4th of July.
yeah, I'm like, all right, now we're talking, right?
Yeah, that's guts.
But that's the thing too. So that's where God's under attack. You know what I mean? So it's it's literally a battle of good and evil. And so how's the best way to do that? Manipulate the children.
Yeah.
Manipulate the people.
Sure.
Give things for free. Give people, all of this assistance where they have to rely on somebody else. And that's what my job is as a human, is to reach out, help, mediate, not mediate, but help each person individually, kind of like what you're doing. And you're doing on a grand scale, and I hope one day that I'll also get to that direction, but I want to help people from the ground up.
For sure.
I want to keep them out of worrying about a handout. So here's my hand helping you, so you don't need a handout.
Yeah, hand up.
And exactly, that's the goal, and we need more people like that. And it's so
So I'm gonna kind of flip the script a little bit since we're talking about family. So I got a question for you.
For sure.
So you're on this heavy grind, and you have children, correct?
I have 3 older kids, which I'm very proud of them, because speaking of this COVID stuff, none of them took the unemployment check. They kept working. Now I sat down with them. Give me some reasons why you decided not to take the
Right.
COVID check, stimulus check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
you didn't take
When
that
did
and
you-
flip it into a business.
Oh, they did. They started businesses. That's what they did. I mean, but without government money, though. Yeah.
Because that wasn't really enough to boom. But how'd you figure out work-life balance?
I learned that that's a big fallacy. Who promotes work-life balance? I mean, you go to college, is that work-life balance?
Right.
You're on
it's
campus.
Actually a
you're
double
away
question for you. So you're actually almost answering it. The second
is
question
that
I had
right?
for you. But yeah, keep
Yeah,
going.
I mean, it's work-life for me. It's work-life integration. Can my kids come integrated with my business? My son, my kids are around me talking. I mean, that's the biggest thing I do, right? Talk to people. So my kids are just catching this language. All my kids, they all know sales, not because I taught them sales, because they saw daddy do it.
Right.
My 12-year-old right now is a very good negotiator, because we start his mother, my mother, very good negotiator. My mother negotiates all the house contracts at the house, and my wife negotiates all the invent contracts we do. But so my 12-year-old at the time, he's learned this since he was 6, 7, 8 years old. He's hearing all these negotiations back and forth. And what does he know how to do now? He knows how to negotiate. Dad, let me get some more iPad time. Let me get some more video game time. What are you going to do? Well, don't you want to spend more time with me? So he's creating his argument, right? He's creating his argument.
When my oldest used to bring out kid logic all the time, and I'm like, damn, you're really good.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hate logic. You know what I mean? Because it's like you know, it's like when you try to discipline them, and it's like they legitimately explain their way out of it. I'm like,
Bam.
I didn't even think about that.
But it's a good skill because they know how to explain themselves. And you know, when I was growing up, you know, Filipino household, no, you don't speak unless you're spoken to, and if we're speaking to you, we're usually yelling at you. It's not like how do I contribute to the family, how to contribute to the conversation. It's not, is it Charlie Munger, which is Warren Buffett's partner, and they were having a conversation with his kids. What did your dad do over dinner? And every dinner time, he talked to them about what somebody did to lose all their money, to live in failure, to not have things go their way. And they discuss those case studies over dinner. So when the kids got older, they remember those case studies because they were, right? So daddy integrated them into the business. So, you know, work-life balance, I tell the kids, listen, when we're gonna work, we're gonna work really hard. But when it's time to play, you're gonna love the results.
Right.
So the kids are learning delayed gratification.
Right.
So my son, you know, we at 8, 9 years old, we recorded a video. We're in Hawaii. So where I was recording him, I said, hey, Jojo, do you regret mommy and daddy being away from the house at the office all the time? He goes, oh no, not at all. I know you have to work. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
So there's a payoff, and you have to have a payoff because if you don't have a payoff, your kid's gonna look at somebody else like, okay, well, hard work doesn't pay off,
Right.
and they're gonna look at other heroes in their life outside of the house that will make more of an impression on them. I'd rather have mom and dad be that impression. Mom and dad need to be the heroes because you can't ask your kids to get good grades if you're not doing anything yourself as mom and dad.
Right.
Do you feel like you always had that outlook, that mindset like that? Because like I dealt with a lot of dad guilt. You know what I'm saying? Because I've always worked. I'm not a serial entrepreneur. I just I picked one thing and got really good at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, but I lost a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
And like I told you earlier on, it's like I realized that as one started graduating, they got older and older.
Yeah.
And it's like I knew I couldn't be home. It's like, you know, it's like I told my wife, I'm like, I really made the ultimate sacrifice here to make sure that we're good.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like she doesn't have the same like outlook on money and stuff like that as I do. You know, me, it wasn't so much about being wealthy, it was about not leaving my bank account.
Yeah.
And, you know, knowing that bill could be on auto pay, no matter what the bill is. Like, it's on auto pay, right? And it's like, I know it's going to be good.
Right.
You know, that was my objective, you know, because the last thing you want to do is go home and argue about money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like money, sex, you know, those are like the main things in marriages, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like I can control one of those. So it's like I'm going, you know, to control the money.
Yeah.
And so I'm working, right? And so it wasn't until now, like this time in my life, the last year, that I'm like, damn, I really did lose a lot of time. So like, did you have that moment?
For maybe a very brief moment. Because the way I justified it was this vision of every great generation will have its big decision to make to improve that bloodline. So the question I got to ask myself is, what life am I signing up for? And I was a single dad. I was a single dad for 14 years before I got married to my now wife, and we're a blended family. But for 14 years, I just told the kids, listen, kids, I got to be doing this, because I want you to do this. I want you to have access to this. I want you to enjoy this. My daughters still to this day remember the times I go with them on the school field trip, and I'm with them.
Yeah.
They remember that. Girls, you were 8 years old, 7 years old. You still remember that was the best times. We tell all our friends our dad is coming with us. So the times where, you know, I don't have to be at work, I'll go with them on a field trip. I'll go with them, right? Those special moments. You know, it's not what you leave to them, it's what you leave in them.
Sure.
And what I'm leaving in them is that gift. What I'm leaving in them is my dedication to family and also the resource necessary for them. Because if we're a wealthy family, of course, we could spend a lot more time with you. But guess what? You weren't birthed with a wealthy dad or grandma, grandpa. So I justified it by saying, hey, babe, what life did I sign up for? Because if that's the life we sign up for, this is the price we got to pay.
Right.
There's a price for success, but there's also cost to quitting.
Sure.
And I'd rather pay the price for success.
That was actually something Friday and I were talking about the other day. You know, he's like, man, if I had, you know, X amount of money in the bank, like, I'd be cool. I would just buy a house and I would just chill. And I was like, dude, I don't think you can do that.
Yeah. And from a biblical standpoint, that's not what God wants you to do.
Yeah, you got to keep moving. I mean, you know, and where he's came in my life lately, he's like, you need to push a message. You need to go out there and minister to as many people as you minister.
Exactly.
And so that's how this started.
Yeah.
And so I can't sit. I can't chill. You know, it's like my wife's now, you know, through the same thing because her faith like developed just as fast as mine, like instant, right?
yeah,
God came in like, hey, I'm here, buddy.
Amen.
Right? And so like she's talking about doing, you know, a podcast talking about where, you know, when God came into people's lives.
It's great.
Right? Going into that deeper thing. Because a lot of people don't even talk about like that faith part. Like, when did your life get faithful, right? Because I was not, you know, like I believed in God, right? But I wasn't in church. I wasn't reading the Bible. Like I couldn't even listen to scripture, you know. And then like this whole year is like bam, 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 bam. Still haven't really read a lot of it, but somehow you know God's putting that, you know, that knowledge and wisdom in me, and it's like I'm scripturing people. I'm like, hey, do, and it's cool, right?
I just tell all these entrepreneurs, listen, I don't want to throw Jesus down your throat. I don't want to throw any religion down your throat, but you want to be wealthy, right? You want to be prosperous, right? You want to be, you know, creating generational wealth, right? You want to last for the test of time. Yes. Read Proverbs. Read about Proverbs because King Solomon wrote that, which is King David's son, who is the wisest and richest king who ever lived. Right. $2.1 trillion he'd be worth today. Right. The second one would be Mansa Musa, who'd be at 400 billion. And so we did a series in our YouTube channel. We did a series of a proverb a week, 31 weeks in a row. We're kicking off Ecclesiastes next week. We just broke down a proverb from an entrepreneur's perspective, from a father's perspective, how I should look at Proverbs. And what did King Solomon say throughout this whole thing? If there's anything you're going to get wisdom and understanding. What did King Solomon ask for when he took over at 20 years old? God talked to him in his dream. What do you want? You want wives? What you want, man? You want more money, man? You want gold this? You want bigger armies? You want land? King Solomon, you know, right? He asked for wisdom.
Yeah.
Right? And God's like, dude, not only am I going to give you wisdom, I'm going to give you everything else you didn't ask for.
Right.
And because he honored God, God honored him.
Sure.
And for 40 years was a golden age for Israel until Solomon started dabbling with women in other countries and their gods.
Yeah.
And that's when God said, listen, bro.
Oh, he checked him. You know?
The thing is, he checked him twice.
Yeah.
No. Twice, third time. Okay, fine. I'm taking this away from you.
Yeah, I mean, that's but I mean, that's, you know, but that can apply to real life too, right?
Oh, for sure.
You know, you can play some stupid games.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a great prize at the end of that.
There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. Just don't do it twice.
Right. You know, learn from it, right?
Exactly.
And then sometimes it's like what I tell people, I said the wheel's been invented and reinvented millions, trillion times, right?
Yeah.
Start listening to people.
That's right.
Right? Why are you going to make the same mistake that guy over there made? You know, he's literally told you what not to do, right? It's like the Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? You read the book, most people are like, yeah, it's okay. You know, I worked for a company one time. They paid $150,000 for this team to come in and tell them what they're doing wrong. You know what they did? They literally changed absolutely nothing and fired the one guy who should have worked at that company, right? And he actually went on to go start his own company. I'm like, that's a good blessing, right? But I'm like, you spent all that money for consulting and you didn't change shit?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
You ever see that Steve Jobs clip of him talking to a room full of consultants? Oh, you guys should look that up, right? He basically says, he goes, oh, wait a minute, this is a room full of consultants? He goes, I'll tell you about consultants. Why don't you guys go out and build something first and then you go back to consulting? I don't waste any money on consulting because you guys think you know everything, but you never built anything.
I mean, that's damn. That makes total sense because, you know, the guy who started the consulting firm, he's the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He hired a whole bunch of people, you know.
Because he's trying to be in multiple places at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, but you're right. I mean, that's a damn good clip. We need to check that one out.
Check that one out, yeah.
Remind me on that one.
Yeah, like I said, the old UPS commercial, you got these two guys sitting there, the old sage CEO. You need to do this, supply chain management, blah, blah, blah. The guy's like, okay, do it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we don't do it. We tell you what to do. No, you do it. If you think that's what we need to do and you want me to spend our money, go do it. Execute.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we have so many different topics. Like, you know, it's like we you know, that's the cool thing about not being scripted, right?
yeah, of course. Long form content.
You know,
man.
I want general conversation. You know what I mean? So, dude, I really appreciate that. And,
for sure.
You know, and I know you've done a lot of interviews and your own type of stuff, and it's like, dude, I don't like scripted. Let's just talk like men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's be us, right? Let's not follow the grain. But I do want to talk about, you know, kind of like the journey, right? It's too big. It's too big of a journey to really go into in one podcast. But I'd like to kind of talk about the first part would be like, at what point did you realize you're in insurance, right? You got that $450 check. Things are looking up.
Yeah.
Like, at what point did it start transpiring into your own insurance firm?
When I realized that after 12 years, if I didn't sell something, I'm still unemployed. I'm like, shit, right? What I got to do to make sure this continues? Because everybody else was getting paid. Landlord's getting paid. Our marketing company's getting paid. Staff is getting paid. But I still have all this pressure that I got to find clientele, do these seminars, still find clientele if I'm paying. So in other words, I wanted to go to the right side of the quadrant, the cash flow quadrant. So I had to start creating a team. I had to start creating systems and processes. I had to be able to trust people to run that side of business, even though I could have done it better myself. But if I don't build up somebody, if I don't become a kingmaker or a queen maker, I'm going to be stuck in this quadrant for another 10, 12 years. So that's when I started recruiting, scaling, and building a team. Lost a couple of guys because I didn't know how to be a good boss.
Sure.
I didn't know how to teach and train. So I had to evolve. We talk about the different evolutions of an entrepreneur. First one is a sales leader, right? You're kick and tail, right? You're a sales leader, then you're a sales manager, and then you're a business owner, and then you're a CEO. Just because you go to Vistaprint and start a company, put CEO in the title, doesn't mean you're CEO.
Yeah.
So I had to evolve. How do I evolve my sales leadership into sales manager so I can delegate, right, effectively and have run contests and get guys fired up and drive sales, drive competition, have a leaders bulletin, and then start having somebody fill that role so I can be a business owner so I can focus on the other, other vision of the company.
Yeah.
And then I could be a little bit more visionary and from a CEO directive standpoint. But that's the evolution we're going through, and that's the evolution I was going through. So I didn't know how to be a good CEO to myself because I didn't know how to be a good sales leader to sales manager to business owner. So that was my evolution.
Sure. Yeah, it's actually a really hard transition.
Yeah.
It's like...
You ever read the book, The E-Myth?
I have not.
Michael Gerber. So there's 3 guys that show up to the company every day arguing with each other, right? The entrepreneur's arguing with the manager, the manager's arguing with the technician.
I feel like this is my business. You know what I mean?
The technician's like, I got a great product. Like, we got a great niche, right? The manager's like, well, we don't have the deployment. We can't do that yet right now. Entrepreneur's like, I want to take over the world. The problem is these 3 guys is the same person. That's the E-Myth.
That's me, isn't it? Right, Friday?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So that book showed, how do I then create scale, how to create systems and processes and have a team. And so for example, last month, we just posted on Instagram, last month, Laquan was in that picture. We paid our guys, my top guys here, a little over $1.1 million in commissions last month.
Nice.
Right?
That's big.
That's outside of me. So if you're hanging with me and you understand what we do, whether you're part-time, full-time, you hang with me, you'll make money. Year to date, we've paid commissions since January 1st, is July, mid-July. We paid over $9.4 million for the year. And it's 30% higher year over year when most industries are compressing, contracting backwards. Our industry is going, it has got less to do with me, but more so by the excitement of the people that we're coaching, teaching, and mentoring. They're fired up.
Dude, see what's cool is like, so I can look at it from when I started the company, and it's like, I started this business on, not very much money, right?
Sure.
I just kind of had to go hustle, right?
Yeah.
And I can literally do, $3 million without leaving my computer, without making a phone call, because all of my customers still call me back.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So it's like, but it takes 4 salespeople to do that. And I'm like, it's frustrating, right?
Yeah,
and it's like, no matter how many incentives, it's like, there's some certain things that just don't change. Yeah. But what I was getting at is when I first started the company, it's like, oh man, I got to pay this commission, this. And it's like, not that they didn't earn it. It's like, that's a lot of money. Now I'm like, damn, you got a $6,000 commission? Sweet.
Sure.
Like if I see my payroll go from, $30,000 a week to 50, I'm like, damn. That sucks, like on a financial cash flow standpoint, but I'm like super proud, right?
Yeah.
And so it's humbling, right? So I know it's humbling when you see that.
Yeah.
You're like, damn, that's a big check. But it's so humbling because if they're making money, you're making money.
But think about what you're doing as an entrepreneur. You're blessing a family, man.
Yeah.
That father can take care of his wife, his kids, they're paying their rent, putting them in school, sitting there, can feed the family because you have the courage to go out there and start a business where you need assistance.
Yeah.
And that's where, we're talking from a faith perspective, that's where the devil loves to play around in our heads, man.
Right.
To think that we're less adequate, that we're not good enough.
Oh, yeah, spiritual warfare.
90% of all business owners fail and succeed. They don't succeed. It's a disaster if you go into business for yourself.
Yeah, when I had 2 years, like, shout out. I made it.
Come on, baby.
Like,
I love
you
it.
know, like, we
Even
got
the
this.
podcast, man. Like that's what the numbers were showing. Like,
Oh yeah, we started. It was like 99% of all podcast fails. I was like, good thing I'm not doing this for money.
Right.
You know, like
Exactly.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna
Yeah.
push this message. You know, we've invested over $50,000 in this podcast
For sure.
and it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, my YouTube channel, we're at 307,000 subs. I've never paid for an ad. All organic. I have videos that do 100,000 views. I have videos that do 200 views.
Yeah.
So what? I'm,
Yeah.
I'm still marching forward, funded and financed by my main core business.
then you'll get retro views anyway. Let's say you get a video that pops and everything starts going. They're gonna go back and watch that video.
Yeah.
So that 200 view video is gonna have 200 million.
Gonna draw.
right. You just put the content out there and you be yourself in it. And that's one thing that like I was very inspired, like watching your stuff. You know, because honestly, I had no idea who you were. You know, off the grip. And he, you know, Friday he was like, he's like, got mad. I was like, who? You know what I mean?
Well, so
but
one of your videos just popped up, like stuff that I guess fit our algorithm. So I saw your video pop up. I was like, man, he's talking that talk, right? So I started diving into your videos. I was like, I'm reaching out. Like that's just how that happened. Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, but that's where like God helps me, right?
Yeah, that's
God did this for me
Come on.
because like a lot of the things we've talked about today are things that like Friday can tell you that we've talked about and it's like he'll do that to get me to my next, you know, thought process, my next step, you know, where's this going? Because sometimes, as you know, like you start doing the social media stuff, right? You'll have days where you're like, you know, what the hell am I doing?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, really like, who am I doing this? You know? But then I step back and I'm like, you know, it's like I see my people come up through this process. All right. So like even this, like even our producer coming up from this or my brother-in-law. But like in my business, my motivation is seeing like one of my head guys in the field who sprays foam in a hot ass attic, right? Bust his ass. And they work for piece rate. So they work basically commission, right? So they work for the more you install, the more you get paid, but it has to be done right. Okay, so I did that. I don't do hourly.
By the way, had I known, I just got my whole attic just redone.
Yeah,
Because I should have known.
if it ain't foam, it's not.
Yeah, I know. That's it.
So you need a free inspection though to make sure they did it right. So
Okay,
you can tell
there
them
you
to
go.
call back
He's
out. You know what I mean?
always closing, baby. I love
So
it.
it's, you know,
Big
because
closer.
not all of them.
That's
are
the nickname right
they're
there.
Not
Give
all,
some coffee.
they're not created equal. You know what I mean? So the last thing you want is gaps and voids in there, that hot ass attic. So if your attic's not 75 degrees, there's something wrong.
It's not
Man,
75
you had said something real quick. I want to touch on. 'Cause this is big with me and Walter. He mentors a lot of people. I mentor a lot of people in my industry. Man, who's the mentor behind you, man? I know there has to be somebody that's
Oh yeah, straight up.
that rock.
It's
Who is it?
Patrick David.
okay.
Patrick David. He runs Value Tainment. What is it, Laquan? Like 3 or 4.2 million subs right now, and he's an immigrant from Iran, refugee. Went to Germany, went to LA, and anyway, make a long story short, no college degree. He had a 1.8 GPA, I had a 2.2 GPA. I was visiting my sister out in LA, and she goes, "You need to meet my pastor, he's my boss, Pastor Dudley Rutherford of Shepherd Hills Church." And I get to meet with him, and he's like, you reminded me of somebody here in LA. He's the Iranian version of you. And later on, he sees Patrick, and he says, "Hey, I ran into somebody, he's a Filipino version of you." So he reached out to me in my book, I think on page 43. He sends me a message on Facebook in 2009. I'm just a one-man operation at the time during the Great Recession. Anyway, make a long story short, we finally circle back and finally get on the phone in 2014. So I'm a 5-year follow-up. You know the importance of follow-up, right?
Yeah.
Well, a 5-year follow-up. And so we start dancing in January 2015, and my business went, wow. And so he recently sold the company to the largest privately held company in all of Texas, which is the Integrity Marketing Group, downtown Dallas. You know that pointy building, the fountain place? There's 9 floors in there of the Integrity Marketing Group. He sold it for a few $100 million. I have an equity position in the company. And so I'm staying on, and my job is now to take this company to the next level. Nice. Patrick has started Valuetainment Media, started his podcast. He's attracting a lot of talent. He's got a lot of politicians he plays as a strategist for it too as well, because that's kind of like his thing. And now he's a new minority owner of the New York Yankees.
Nice. Wow.
So all the way from nothing to something. So that's the guy that's behind me, brother.
Well, that's good.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's a good person. He has some good clips on Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, he's got some good advice out there. Like
Yeah, because I've actually seen
obviously,
him
right?
Oh yeah.
You know, you know how many people he's probably talked to, and not everybody listens. You know,
Of
it's like
course.
every person I've ever trained to, like, you know, in our industry, like, you know, I've probably trained, you know, 150 salespeople in my career. I can only name one person who actually got it.
Of course,
And he was the only one that I felt like can go toe to toe with me, right? and it's sad because now he's selling bicycles, but he owns his own bicycle shop. But it's like, but no, like he was that good. But I can never get him to join my team when I left that company. I'm like, dude, just come on over, man. Just come on over. But he always wanted to just kind of be like my arch enemy. Like it's like, I'm like, that's cool. I like competitiveness, but it's like, you know, I'm not selling bicycles. You know what I mean? Like, but he, you know, but not everybody gets it. You know, so for you to get with him and literally take that, and then, you know, then you see everything change, especially after the recession, right? You know, when you're like contemplating again. Yeah. You know, that's the thing too. Like in business, you contemplate. Like, okay, I got here, and then like it could literally go away. You know, I could lose all my customers and we're done.
And the adjustment and the recreation process isn't just 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. It's a shift of thinking, a shift of action, a shift of results. And that can take a couple quarters, maybe even a year or two.
Yeah, I mean, it's like trying to turn the big ass Titanic. You know what I mean? Like, just because you turn the wheel 3 times, you know what I mean, does not mean you just turned.
Automatic response.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you know, a mile and a half later, you're turning.
Yeah, if you're a one-man operation, it's easy to turn. You're a speedboat.
Right.
But if you've got, you know, a company, you got assets, you got people that are working together with, it's,
Well, and the more people involved, it's that much more difficult. You know what I mean? Like trying to get your team on board to actually do this, you know, because you wake up, you have a great idea. And then you got to go try to implement it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, why am I asking permission? You know what I mean? But it's like you do that because that's what a leader does. It's like you want like-minded individuals that are going to not be like, yes, sir, no, sir. Yeah. You know what I mean? I want people to be like, yeah, I got this idea, you know, and not just say, yes, I'll do that. You know, I want them to challenge me. Right. And so now I want to kind of get to how did 7-Figure Squad become a thing? Like.
Yeah. So I followed Patrick's footsteps because when he started Valuetainment, he'd create videos to communicate with the sales force across the country. And so that's what I wanted. So I said, let me model that. And here's better ways to run your business. Here's better ways to sell insurance. Here's better ways to, you know, whatever the topic was. Then I found out too that it wasn't just insurance people listened to me. It wasn't just my team listened to me. It was because it was public. It was solar guys listening to me. It was people in church running a church. It was construction folks. It was just people who wanted to know money a little bit more broadly. They would subscribe to my YouTube channel. It wasn't really until I focused on, check this out, this is funny. It wasn't until I focused on, we went on a run where it was called Vlogmas. Every day from December 1st to Christmas, we had to put out a video every day.
Okay.
It was like
that's intense.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And so my team okay, we got everything Monday through Saturday, but what do we talk about on Sundays? Who wants to know about insurance on Sunday? I'm like, you know what? Let's take a stab at this. I've always been interested in Proverbs and King Solomon and the biblical perspective of money. And let's do my favorite story, Parable of the Talents. Let's break down Proverbs. Let's break down another couple of my favorite stories in the Bible that taught me a little bit more about finance and how God wants me to be aware of, you know, finances and stewardship. Bro, that took off.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. As soon as you started tying the two together, like, I did not catch that. You know what I'm saying? Like, shout out King David, right? Like, and Solomon. Like, for real, like, I read that so much lately. And I was like, I did not make the correlation. And now I'm like, oh, man. Now I totally want to have a Bible study with entrepreneurship to the Bible.
Exactly.
like, dude, that's like the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Through that process, brother, I found like excitement and purpose. I don't care who's watching it. And of course, you got to create catchy titles like "How the Bible Made Me a Millionaire."
Right.
And then you got
clickbait.
And by the way, it's clickbait. And guess which audience was the biggest pushback? Judgmental Christians.
We talk about that.
Yeah, dude, and
that's why we love, like, not to sound, you know, that's why we love what we do, because like what we're trying to push is like you can, you know, love God and have faith, but you don't have to be this cookie cutter person, right? Like you can, you know, if Walter bust out a cuss word real quick, like that doesn't make him less or,
less Christian than
those
the
people
next
who
guy.
are judging are actually
probably
doing worse behind closed doors or just by judging, you know.
Well, that's how it is. It's, you know, like, I mean, obviously, you know, the Bible has contradictions, this and that, but I'm like, you know, Jesus came for a reason, right? He's allowing us forgiveness through our sins. You know, obviously, if you go do the same bad thing over and over and over again, I mean, obviously, that's against the rules.
Sure.
But it's like, I have tattoos, you know, but to certain people, that's really bad. I'm going to hell. And I'm like,
They're too literal.
I'm like, just wait until next
right.
next month when I got the Jesus tat on.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, I'm leaving this body behind anyway. I'm gonna get that new sexy body. So you know what I mean? Like
That heavenly body.
that heavenly body. So I'm like, maybe he'll replicate
We
it.
talk
I don't know.
about division within inside America. How come there's so much division within inside the body of Christ?
Right.
You got division. You got the Lutheran. You got
It's
the Catholic. You
because
got the Christian.
It's because religion itself is.
It's it.
It's a business.
Yeah.
It's religion equals power, right? Look at the Vatican.
Yeah, for sure. And
know what I mean?
It's like race. At the end of the day, we're humans, but we're breaking it down
Yeah.
to all these other things, and
Yeah.
that's what religion is. It really separates you.
So people got caught up in the religious practices instead of the relationship practices.
Exactly, they got away with their own relationship.
Well,
with
the
God.
one thing that like for some so God's always showed me like don't lose sight. It's come up a lot, and my wife's actually gonna start writing books too.
Yeah.
About a lot of our journey through spiritual warfare and different things that we've dealt with through this. And don't lose sight always comes out, but that's what Christians do is they lose sight of Jesus. They lose sight of the book. They lose sight of being human, right? Humanity.
Yeah.
Right. So we've all, that's the division, right?
Yeah.
It's all, and it goes back to good versus evil. It's like, we need to be back to united we stand.
And if you really want to serve people too as well, one of the greatest ways for you to serve people is get their money right. Because now they're a kingdom builder. They're not only bringing talents, of course you can bring that, not only bringing, your time, but also you're bringing resources.
Right.
And what does every ministry need?
Resources.
They need bringing finances and resources. Yeah. So, that's where the enemy gets people confused. You just mentioned you saw the interview I did with Master P. He's a Christian. He's a believer, but he's in hip hop. And in that world, guess what he's doing? He's blessing other rappers and hip hop artists. He blessed Snoop Dogg and all these guys, and they thank him, and he stands as a man of God. And how many children are blessed because now he's got his cereal in the school systems, in the supermarkets, because he's got a healthier breakfast. Why? Because he decided to take a leap of faith and start a business.
Yeah.
And so your business, your finances, your resource, you're right. It is supposed to be for your own gain. Of course, you got your own. If you want to take care of yourself too as well, take care of yourself. But more so, how much more are you taking care?
Well, that's how I interpreted scripture too. It's like God will give you more than you deserve in reality, right? So, but you got to give. Well, the way I give too is like my company actually pays more than any other installation company in the Metroplex, right? And I'm proud of that because I've got that same guy I told you about, my lead sprayer. He made $111,000 last year.
Nice.
This is a high school dropout, no college degree, making more than most college educated people. And he busts his ass, and he's still home by 3:00 with his family. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's
Right,
like
his first ministry.
yeah.
Right,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like I'm giving back because I'm bringing the people up with me.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I started my company is because you know what? I got taken advantage of my whole career
Yeah.
because I was a work my ass off till I die type guy and treat it like my own.
Yeah.
Well, people will take advantage of that. So for me, I started this because sure, could I make another couple $100,000 a year? Absolutely. But then I'm going to pay these guys way less. But what's the value? Right. What is my value there? So
Kind of like Master P said, like it's better if you create more bosses, more kings and queens.
Yeah.
Than
That's what it's about.
yeah.
And now we create a community, and that community can work together in a movement to take back America and reestablish the values and principles of how this country was started. Because nobody's buying us. The reason why a lot of people don't respect Trump, why? Because he's draining the swamp. Why these people? So there's establishment people, and then there's anti-establishment people.
Right.
He's an anti-establishment person. If you go back, if you do the digging down of who actually is funding and financing their campaigns, Trump is financing a majority of his campaign.
Right.
In other words, no PAC, no super PAC is buying him.
right.
So you see some of these guys, Clinton, how much do you think they've funded their own campaign?
Well, none.
Zero.
The foundation had $500 million.
Exactly, zero. So they're not raising their own cash in the kitty
Yeah, I think
because
Trump
now they're
funded
listening to
them.
everybody else.
Right.
So
Well, and I mean, and Trump knew the ins and outs because before he even ran for president, he was funding the Clintons.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like but that was how it is. If you have money, right, and you want to get shit done, I'm gonna give the politicians the money, right? I mean, that's how they become wealthy, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because $180,000 a year does not make you a multimillionaire.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm
No,
saying?
yeah.
So, but they all seem to be wealthy, right? So we all know things go on, but Trump would, donate to the Clintons, and they were all friends and this and that. But that's why I respect him, because he knew behind the scenes. And he's actually been exactly who he was going to be back when he was on Oprah in 92. He's still saying the same shit. And, you know, he got persecuted through this whole process and will continue to get persecuted, right? Whether he gets presidency or not, they're always after him because he's a threat, because he's willing to expose all the bullshit because he has nothing to lose.
And on top of that, he was helping out Jesse Jackson in '99.
Yeah. But that's,
So it's like,
but that's what I'm saying. So, you know, people are fixated on certain things
Yeah.
that were said or this and that. And dude, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
You're not perfect. I'm not perfect, right? There's nobody but Jesus Christ is perfect.
amen.
So, but we can't fixate on everybody's, you know, past.
Yeah.
You know, but he did do what he said he was going to do, and they're trying to, you know, go after him.
Yeah.
And that's why that's what's scary about politics, because we woke up, right?
Yeah.
That's why the Bud Light thing happened. That's why the Target thing happened. That's why the movie, right? All these things are happening now, and they're huge momentums because of him stepping in at that moment and exposing. If he did anything else, he exposed
Yeah.
to the quiet majority, and that's what we needed. You know, in my opinion.
There's another guy, another candidate on the Republican side. His name is Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
Indian guy,
That's a
35,
hell of a
30
name right there.
Yeah. You should check him out. Sharp.
Fire.
He says, if you vote me as president, here's my plan to wipe out the 3-letter agencies, to wipe out the deep state, get rid of 32% of the jobs, and he has a plan. He put it on Instagram. I'd wipe out the FBI. I reassign those agents under Homeland Security. I put them over here with me, right? So he's like, right, he's moving
Right.
these departments. He's getting rid of the Department of Education. He's reallocating those resources. And all the federal government employees says, what are you talking about? That's my livelihood. That's my job. Well, welcome to the rest of America.
Wow.
Because the government's too damn big. That's the problem with America,
And too old.
right? So establishment and anti-establishment. And the guy went from nothing at the beginning of the year. Now he's the number 3 candidate. He'll be on the debate stage here in August.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah. You got to text me that name though.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah, it's just look for the longest name in American
Just
history.
remember Vivek.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But that's what America needs, right? You know, Trump was a little, you know, he had Twitter fingers, and he, you know, he wasn't a politician, so he didn't speak like a politician.
He's a street guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Which it worked. You know, you send the hitman in first, right? But then the mob boss shows up, and he, you know, he does the talking. So the next guy's got to be a talker,
Yeah.
right? But he has to also do what he says he's going to do,
Yeah.
and not be a puppeteer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
what. My bad to cut you off. But I know we're kind of running short on time. But let's get a couple little clickbait things out the way real quick. So, question:
Okay.
what was it feeling like when you first saw $1 million in your bank account?
I'm going to pay a lot.
You
of
know,
taxes.
first thing is like, damn right.
Right.
Damn right. Freaking, they ought to be there. And I'm thinking right away, I better not see that again, babe. Do some of the money, because I know my tendencies. I'm about to relax. Right? Like, I'm high-fiving, and mentally I'm like winding down. No, babe, get rid of the money, put it somewhere. So I wore for 3 years after that this bracelet called Power of Broke. Damon John wrote a book called Power of Broke.
Okay.
So let me operate again when I remember I was operating when I was flat broke, had nothing in the bank. So for the next 3 years, I didn't see the bank account. So I just didn't want to get comfortable, and I didn't want to define my business and my purpose because of a monetary deposit in my bank account. So at that point, I realized my business now is not based on surviving. It's not based on status. It's based on purpose, and I want to stay in that space. In the meantime, though, get the money out the bank.
Right. So that kind of leads me to my next question. What's been your best purchase and your worst purchase?
Best purchase was my wife's wedding ring. I sold my car. And then it's funny because we're looking at all these old videos. I did
Was it a Hyundai Genesis?
It was a it was a 2007 Lexus GS300 with a purple license plate. It's going like that.
Okay, all right.
Rims though, you know.
Dude, that's
And,
they need to be sold.
Yeah. So I go downstairs. I go down to Diamond Road, Julia Road in Chicago. Got a ring, and my best investment has been getting married to my wife. Because here's the weird thing about what I understand about coming. Now, coming from a guy that used to play the field, that spent his entire 30s to pay the mistakes of my 20s. Once I made that commitment to my wife, mentally, spiritually, sexually, financially, it's amazing how that shifted into other commitments that I would make. And
Yeah.
and when my wife feels confident that I'm not playing the game, you can look at my phone. I'm going to take my phone, knock yourself out. You want to see my DMs? You want? I don't care. If I can log into your phone so you can see it. You know, I don't care because I got nothing to hide.
Facts.
Because I'm not trying to honor you. I'm trying to honor God. And in honoring God, I'm honoring you, my wife,
Right.
and honoring my family. And the last thing I want to do is to be a distraction for my children. I don't want to be a distraction for my wife. You know what I mean by distraction? Like sometimes, like there's CEOs that do things that make it harder for their employees to work there or sell their product or service.
Right.
I don't want to be a distraction for my family. I don't want to be an embarrassment to my last name, the brand that I was building. So,
And your last name, I love that because so I'm 31. I've been with my wife since I was 16.
damn, bro,
Yeah.
that's serious.
So I've
That's
never-
tough
Yeah.
because you're growing still, man. Your brain's still developing. And
Exactly. So 16, she's the only woman I've been with since I was 16. Never cheated. We've lived together since we were 17. Like,
And by the way, you're not missing anything. You're not missing anything. So some guys are saying, "Oh my gosh!" You know, I mean, think about how many guys like all the girls I'm saying no to.
You don't- I
all
mean-
the opportunity, bro. If you find a good woman by your side, bro, I'm telling you, man, it's the
two,
greatest
you just
thing.
you just don't cheat on your wife. You cheat on your kids.
That's
you cheat
right.
on yourself. So it's not just one person that you're betraying.
Yeah,
But I think sometimes too, like women though, right? This goes back to the way people feel like they have to feel, look, act, this stuff, right? So you get put on the chopping block, and I don't know if it's you, but I know I do from time to time. It's like, who you talking to? Are you cheating on me? Are you faithful? All these things. I'm like, I don't think you understand the core value I have inside as a man, right?
right.
That keeps me loyal, right? I don't care. You know, I made you that commitment when I was 16 years old, right? You're developing, you're growing. She basically had to raise me, right? I was a bad kid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then I finally got it right. But she stuck by my side, so why would I go do that, right? The ultimate, right? Why would I go do that and ruin our lives, our commitment, right?
Yeah.
And you know, obviously, I'm not following God's word at that point. But it's like I feel like women are put in that position to feel like inadequate. Like she's younger, she's this, she's that, right?
Yeah.
You know, I call it the Kardashian effect because I'm like, they're obviously, the staple of what women think they need to look like with the fillers and the injections and stuff. And I'm like, babe, you're beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you had 4 kids, but
It's either
damn.
that or the complete opposite because it's like city girls right now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
either
like-
that or you're like, I don't need a guy. I'm good.
Well, but I
got
think a lot
20
of
of
women are like, that's what you want, right? This, big breast, big butt girl, this and this. I'm like, no, that's what people put in their music videos, and that's what the Kardashian wants you to think you gotta look like because that's what somebody told them they had to look like.
yeah. If my wife was posting pictures of her on Instagram, she's showing her stuff and she's got assets, right? I'd feel less about her because I want what no other man sees.
Right.
That's valuable to me. That's respecting me.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so a lot of women think opposite. No, I got to show the stuff because I was just on a podcast on Thursday.
Brings
So-
that value down.
yeah, exactly. And this girl right next to me, she's a fitness model, blah, blah, blah. She's got a lot of followers, and now she wants to sell a product, right? She wants to sell whatever, and nobody's really buying. It's like we don't care about your damn product. Keep posting freaking butt pics,
Right.
Right.
right? So it's your shoulder workout. It's that's her butt workout, but it's her shoulder workout. So a lot of guys might be attracted to that, but it's the wrong attraction that you don't want.
Right.
And so,
The devil's work.
yeah, it's my wife is it's a blessing. Proverbs talk about when you have a wife, it's a blessing from God. And I don't want to ruin that blessing, man, because when much is given, also much is expected. What's given also can be taken away.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I saw something the other day. This one of our home builders, he does a lot of $15, $20 million bills in Highland Park. And somebody asked him and said, what's the longevity to a marriage? He's like, God. He's like, if you guys are both with God, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, damn. Because obviously I'm new to faith. So it's like, when I say new to faith, new to how deep rooted it is. But I'm like, okay, well, I've been doing it right since the beginning. So I'm like, hashtag blessed. You know what I mean? But it's like, I want people to realize that if you find one, right, there are ride or die women out there. Mm-hmm. And, we as men love them for what they are, who they are. And it's like, we don't have to have what you think people want you to, what men want.
Yeah.
And I hate when that's said.
The most beautiful thing that my wife can do for me, outside of obviously she's taking care of herself physically. But I told her, babe, you're the closest thing to me, man. Like, next to you is my mom, right? My mom talks to me a certain way. That's why a lot of men won't talk to a lot of men, but that's why they talk to their mom. But if you have a wife in your life, I said, babe, listen, last thing I need you to do, I deal with doubt, fear, confusion. Am I good enough? Can I do this? Trolls. I deal with this stuff on a daily basis.
Right.
What I need from you is what? I need you to say, hey, babe, you got this. You're good enough. You deserve better. You're earning better. I'm so proud. That's what I need. Babe, I need it from you, not for you to kiss my ass. I just need that weird type of freaking reassurance because you're the closest. Yeah, you're the closest thing to. I need my wife to believe I'm going to run through that freaking wall for you, but I just need you to believe in me, not to think that I'm freaking texting some bull crap somewhere else.
That's,
Anyway,
that's the last thing you want to hear.
Well,
You've been grinding all day, and then the one thing you hear, oh, what's going on? And like, nah.
And I mean, I think it's a growth period too, and I think that's where God really helps a lot of relationships. Because I mean, it's we're going through that phase too. It's like everything's getting better and better. And I tell you what, months later, it's like, damn, I didn't realize I could be this happy. And 21 years, I'm like, damn, I'm happier now than I've ever been. And it's because we're starting to have that realization and that connection again, where we're trying to get away from that day-to-day bullshit. Because you're right. Because I call, there's people paid to basically say, great job, right? High five, you're doing good. You know what I mean?
Flattery.
Weird exactly. And I'm like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pat my own back, but I'm like, I need my wife to pat my back, right? It doesn't have to be every single day, but I'm like, hey, just let me know I'm doing good, because it doesn't matter who tells me. If it comes from you, it matters.
Yep.
And it's like,
And guess what the man will do to a wife in return? Subconsciously with what? We're going to bless her. Like subconsciously, we'll take care of you. So I realized when my wife started doing that, and by the way, I got to do better to do it too as well, because I got to make sure I edify my wife too as well. You're a mom, you're doing this, you doubts to yourself, you're not feeling as good. Yeah. So as men, we got to do our part too as well.
Well, and it's difficult, right? Like even last night, it's like, last night and today, she, her sister being in the hospital right now, this and that. She went over there and cleaned her sister's entire house, organized pantries, like did all this cool stuff. And so when I was home a little while ago before this podcast, I was like, you know what? It's like, I'm proud of you. Great job. This and that. She's like, no, thank you. Nice. I'm like, it's not about the thank you. It's about, I want you to know that nothing you do goes unnoticed. And that's the way big. Too, is to be like, like, hey, we both do that to each other, right? Yeah. And she does that. She's my biggest support system. I would not be where I'm at without her. Yeah. Facts.
Amen.
And so, but man, it's
praying for marriages out there, man. Praying for marriages and a right wife, husband for you to marry.
Yeah. Right. And if it's the wrong person, do things the right way. You don't have to go cheat or do this. If it's time to split, split the right way.
Yep. Yeah. Don't create an enemy.
Right. You're gonna know right off the bat. If you get past the looks and this and that, because you can have a dime piece that has an ugly soul.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. A hot 10 internally, really, at the end of the day, is a 2.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, man. It doesn't compute. That dime minus 9. I'm just saying that's a penny. That's a penny for your thoughts too. So I'm gonna trademark that, guys. Boom. You know what I mean?
So we got one last question, and we just started doing this. Usually we do this in the beginning, but this episode we'll finish it. Is there anything in your life right now you need prayer about?
Yeah, I want to pray for our marriage. I'm going to pray for my kids, our families. For me, that from a individual standpoint, I also want to pray for Dallas. I want to pray for our pastors, our politicians. I want to pray for the leaders of our country, especially with the movie Sound of Freedom just being released. I want to pray for the children, and I'm just it hurts me to know that these kids are put in these positions and they're forced to lie. They're forced to do the things they're supposed to do on a daily basis. I'm praying for people out there to care enough, because human trafficking is a crime that less than 1% get arrested. And I hope that more people get aware of the seriousness of the crime, that finally the powers that be get exposed that's facilitating this. Because the last thing we have to worry about in our society is somebody snatching up our kids, stealing our future, and putting the mom and dad in that role. I mean, I was watching that movie, I couldn't imagine what the dad was going through. Right. The guilt that dad was feeling, and the helplessness that he felt. We joke about the movie Taken, yeah, my dad was special skills. But what type of movie was that, though? It was a human trafficking movie.
Yeah.
So
programming.
I don't have those special skills. Imagine, like, you got to call somebody who's got the special skills, who can track down who they need to track down. Right. So I'm praying that a lot of these military guys, cops, come out the woodwork, because they got the specialized skills to serve their community. Because a lot of nonprofit organizations there. So yeah, long answer. Those are things I love.
Yeah, I mean, you know that when that guy becomes president and takes away the IRS, he can take all those agents and make a human trafficking, organization where that's all they do day in and day out, right?
All day.
I mean, because you can use a million good qualified people to do that because it's a problem all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And
the biggest consumer is Americans.
Yeah, and people don't realize it's a lot of the very, very, very wealthiest people who are involved in a lot of that.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
'Cause isn't it crazy somebody can get locked up for selling, a couple pounds of weed and do more time than somebody who raped somebody or sexual assault?
That's exactly. So we pray for the right politicians to make the right laws.
Right. It's because they're involved. So when they get caught, the sentence is lighter on them. Like they know what they're doing.
I mean, it's a crooked, corrupt world, and I've often said it before. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna pay attention. I can't do anything about it, but it's bullshit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I say that, to be honest with you. But really, if we all do our part, one human at a time, right, and just say, hey, look, this is what we can do. Well, all of us together are much larger than the ones that are against us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then he who is in me is stronger than he who is in the world. And but Matt, man, I want to say thank you so much, and dude, I feel like
I pray for your podcast too. Let this blow up, man.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
I really appreciate you coming on, man, and dude, I'm a fanboy now. So I really appreciate it. I mean, there's a lot of business things I want to talk to you about at some point.
Yeah. Let's grab a cigar and spin some whiskey. We'll talk about it at the Cowboys Club.
Yeah, man, I love that, dude. I got a lot of ideas and questions, but I can tell you've already made the mistakes and had the good outcomes, and like I told you, I don't reinvent the wheel. So like I will literally listen to other people, right, and then I'll make educated decisions because some people will sell you false hopes and dreams. Yeah, but it's like but I really appreciate you and respect you, admire you. Shout out to your boy over here, man.
Quan, man. Quan's doing it.
Next time when we have that cigar, I hope he's at 250, all right? If he's not, I'm going to give you some personal outside the box Texas sales experience. So just watch me work.
Come on, baby.
You know what I mean? Because you can get both, know. And, dude, man, it's a real pleasure, brother. Okay.
Appreciate it, big dog. Oh, man.
You too, man.
Wrap it up.
All right. Well, guys, that wraps up today's Select Few episode. I don't even know what to say. I mean, he obviously speaks for himself, but you know what? I want you guys to check out Faith Made Millionaire on Amazon. Buy that book. It legitimately will come next day. And I want you to check out that book. And then I know in the future there's going to be more because he's a wealth of information. So just watch him do his work. Follow him. Like, share. Do everything you got to do. But definitely don't lose sight of Matt. So see y'all next time.